there is one team that needs highlighting, and they haven't been so far in 2025, it is the Mercedes Formula 1 unit. They've had a remarkable start to the season, particularly in contrast to how they begun the 2024 season. And it's not only that, the team internally are very, very confident that they can outperform McLaren, the leaders for 2025, in terms of upgrades for the season as a whole. And as such, this would put them in a fantastic position to mount a title challenge on both fronts. But how impressive of a turnaround in the off-season has it been for the Mercedes team? Let me put it into a little bit of context for all of you watching. So let's take the opening 2 rounds of both the 24 and 25 season and compare them. Last year, the almighty Red Bull and the RB20 were the leaders at the beginning of the season. Now, Mercedes in the first 2 rounds had no podiums, no pole positions, and they were 0.8 of a second off of the leading pace. Now, in very much a big contrast, come to 2025 and take the opening 2 rounds that we've had so far. Mercedes have managed to get 2 podiums, very, very close to a pole position in the main China qualifying session. And the Mercedes W16 is only 0.2 of a second slower on average so far than that of the McLaren MCL39. So statistically, this is a remarkable turnaround for a team from one season to the next. And it seems the team internally finally have got a stranglehold on these technical regulations, and they've finally produced a car that has hit the ground running and is within a respectable lap time difference to the leading team for any season that we've had in this ground effect era. And of course, as I mentioned, they're very confident in their ability to upgrade McLaren across the 2025 season, potentially putting them in a title challenging position for both championships, with Russell being the lead driver and the one that is very much ready to go when it comes to a driver's championship. Now, there is one thing we have to state in these statistics, and it's that it doesn't account for all of the in-season upgrades that last year's W15 had. And so it's very much just a start of season comparison, because that is just the best way to go about it. And I think outside of how much quicker they are, it is the platform, the base that they've built with the W16 that is the most impressive thing, an aspect Mercedes have managed to achieve, because it's the first time they've had a car in the W16 that can hit the ground running and is very much competitive, being the second force behind the dominant team of that season. And it gives them a lot of time and opportunity to progress the W16, their learnings from it, their drivers' understandings from what they need out of the setup for it, and to go into the season for the next, how many races have we got? 19, 20 races, 21 races left to go. And I think there's going to be a lot of future battles between that of Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli in the future that we're going to be seeing and talking about a lot. Now, where exactly do the teams still need to improve upon when it comes to going up and mounting a consistent challenge to McLaren on a track-by-track, weekend-by-weekend basis? Well, if we look at all of the telemetry and all of the data that we've gathered over the Australian and Chinese weekend, there is one particular speed set of corners that they struggle with in comparison to McLaren and the MCL39. And essentially, it is all about slow speed corners. That is where Mercedes are losing out the most to their rivals. And so all of the upgrades are going to be targeting that particular aspect, as well as, I'm sure, overall increase in load, downforce, and trying to look after the tyres more than they've managed to do, and just to improve upon that. But the highlight will, of course, be focused in on slow speed corner performance. Now, what kind of upgrades can you bring to the car to help improve that? And what kind of time frame are the team and the drivers and fans looking at until they start to arrive for the car? Well, generally, in terms of a time span, there is at least a 3-month period from which it will take the team to implement and bring these improvements to the Mercedes W16. Now, I believe the first draft of updates that every single team will be bringing to the car is already begun, very much so, and this happens already before the cars even hit the track for pre-season testing. So Mercedes will already have a raft of upgrades that they've manufactured and are rating to produce and to put onto the W16 at an upcoming event. When that event will be, we do not know yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's around the next 2 to 3 races that we see an upgrade start to trickle down the pipeline and for it to be on the Mercedes W16. But with regards to the slow speed corner improvements and the upgrades, it's going to take a little bit of time before that even arrives to the car. And I think we're looking at like 5 rounds probably before that happens. But perhaps they already were targeting slow speed corner improvements way before even pre-season testing, because they could see from the data and numbers that was one of the still weaker points of the W16 in its current spec. And so it might, for all we know, just already be part of this first raft of upgrades. And then from then, it's just seeing how it translates onto the racetrack and whether it produces what they saw in the, data from the CFD and the wind tunnel runs that they did with this latest spec of parts for the W16. And if it does, of course, then that's just going to make them that much more competitive up against the likes of McLaren, not only on a single lap, but of course on a race distance. So it's going to be exciting times for the team, and I think they've finally, I would say and suggest, cracked the code of how to produce a ground effect era Formula 1 car, albeit at the last time of asking. But it's still good that they finally did so, because they can have a really great final season where they could be kind of pushing for these championships, or at least the constructors more so than I think the drivers. But yeah, I'm going to wrap the video up here. Hope everyone that's watched it has enjoyed it. It's been informative for you all. And if you have, do leave a like on the video. And if you're new and have enjoyed the content, do hit the subscribe button down below. And turn on all notifications for when I drop more videos here on F1 Unraveled. Right, everyone? Catch you all later in some more Formula 1 videos.